getting close to 2 o'clock. Could someone give me a thumbs up or unmute and make sure to, or let me know if you can hear me okay? Thank you so much. And am I sharing the right screen? What you see should be blue summer EBT transfer. Awesome. Thank you. I have a few more people in the waiting room, so I'm going to let them in and then we can get started. All right, it's 2:01, and I'll try to keep my eye on the waiting room and make sure I let all the people in who might be intending to join but are just a little bit late today. My name is Katie Parch, and I'm the Director of the Child Nutrition Programs and Assistant Administrator of the Office of Coordinated Student Support Services at the Nebraska Department of Education. And I'm really glad you've joined Max Reiner, who's Director of Data Collections in the Office of Data Management and Application Development. You joined both of us today to learn more about the Summer Electronic Benefit Transfer Program and the way that your school can help ensure that we are issuing benefits to all eligible students. And that's what we'll work to explain today. I wanted to make sure that you know that there are a couple of ways you can communicate with Max and me. We do have slides and content to share, obviously, and anytime you think of a question while we are going through those slides and sharing information, please feel free to type your question in the chat if you'd like to. We'll also give time for questions and answers after all the slides have been presented and information shared. So if your question is somewhat nuanced, perhaps, and would be best answered by just unmuting and asking it, we're fine to use the time at the conclusion of the slides to do that as well. And when we're finished with slides, we will go through the typed questions from the chat box one by one to provide answers or to ask follow-up or clarifying questions to make sure that you get an answer if we have one, or to note questions that we don't know the answer for sure today and can include in a follow-up frequently asked questions document that we'll make available to you as well. We hosted this same or similar training with the same information last week on Tuesday, April 30th, and we had a good number of questions from that. We will aggregate those questions, their answers, along with questions and answers from today's session into a single frequently asked questions document. So I'm going to get started with just a couple of housekeeping items. Obviously, submit your questions in the Zoom chat or unmute at the end. We'll cover all of those at the conclusion of the training. If you think of questions after today's training, you just don't happen to think of everything you might want to ask right here, right now, that is okay. We encourage you to submit questions, concerns, or even issues related to the summer EBT program, the data aggregation, and uploading information into the NDE portal to the email address you see on the slide here. I'm sorry. Did I type there? nde.sebt@nebraska.gov. And remember too that this is a federal requirement to issue benefits to eligible students. And in order for us and DHHS to comply with that federal requirement, we do need support and help from the schools at which those eligible students are enrolled. So this isn't an optional program, it's one that's permanent, and we need to make sure that we do our very best to receive all appropriate and required information from schools where eligible students are enrolled. I also want to make a plug for promoting the summer food service program because summer EBT benefits, which is money to purchase groceries for students who are eligible for free or reduced price meals, works really well to support food security during the summer, and it can pair very nicely with summer food service program meals offered also through the USDA at almost 250 eligible locations across the state. Of course, food security is really important when students don't have access to breakfast and lunch at school like they would during the school year. The addition of free no-cost meals to all children ages 1 through 18 through the SFSP is another way that collectively those programs work together to support food security. And another benefit of the SFSP is that most of those sites operate in a congregate meal service fashion that helps kids, I guess, access obviously food, but also opportunities to interact with their peers. Most of the sites in Nebraska are schools, and those are places that students are familiar with staff who they know and trust and had gotten to know over the course of the school year. So we just want to make sure that all schools are doing their part to share information about the availability of summer meals. And schools that operate the National School Lunch Program are required to provide information about how to locate SFSP sites during the summer. So before your schools release for summer break, we want to make sure you know that you need to share 2 options for locating summer meal sites with the families of students enrolled in your school. And you can see the newsletter blurb that I've shared on the screen. We like you to share text food or comida to 304304. The sender will be asked for their zip code, and then they'll receive a text message back that identifies the summer meal sites that are in or near their zip code, along with the address, the physical address, the street address, the meal service start and end date, which meals are served during that period or that window of meal service, and what those meal service times are. Additionally, you can promote the SFSP site finder, and I'll put the link to that in the chat, as well as when I share these slides, you'll have the hyperlink to the site finder directly from this slide as well. And both of those resources won't be fully populated and ready to share a comprehensive list of summer food service program sites until after May 24th. All of the sites that are operated in Nebraska and nationwide are reviewed and approved. And after they're approved, they become part of the searchable database that is the tools used to for the text or the website to locate sites. So please make sure when you communicate these 2 finder options that you also share that that information will be available after May 28th. So the agenda for today is first to cover the summer EBT program, background on it and its purpose. We want to make sure we identify very clearly for you who qualifies for summer EBT benefits, how schools will provide eligible student information to the NDE, and finally, we'll cover some resources and a few frequently asked questions, but again, much more comprehensive set of FAQs will be issued after this training has taken place and we get to hear those questions directly from you. So the Summer Electronic Benefit Transfer Program, which I will continue to refer to as SEBT, was started as a demonstration project about 10 years ago, where they offered eligible students one of 2 different benefit amounts for each month they were allowed to receive benefits. One was $30 per month per eligible student. The other was $60 per month. And some follow-up research showed that both levels of those benefits improved food security and increased fruit and vegetable consumption among children. So food security isn't just having calories or food that fill a child's stomach. A component of that, of course, is the quality of that nutrition. And this program proved to make a positive benefit in both of those. Because that information and data collected and the results of that demonstration were positive, Congress chose to make summer EBT a permanent program and authorized each eligible child or student to have $40 per month for the 3 summer months when school is not in session for most students, and therefore they don't have access to the meals that they would normally receive at school. This amounts to $120 a month $120 over the 3 months of summer break, $40 per month, again, when those school meals are not available. Summer EBT is not the same as the pandemic EBT that I'm sure many of you aggregated and submitted data for during the last 3 previous school years. This is a permanent program, not at all based on any kind of public health emergency, which was part of the reason that PEBT existed. And none of the benefits issued for summer EBT are dependent on any kind of illness or COVID-related absence. So let's move on to talk more, just a little bit more about who qualifies for summer EBT to help you understand the types of information and for which students we would need to receive that information. So there are 2 requirements to be eligible for summer EBT, right? First of all, students who you're going to submit data for are obviously going to be those who are enrolled at your school and are eligible to receive free or reduced price meals through the National School Lunch Program. So this would include preschoolers who are enrolled at your school who eat meals at school during the school day. Those meals are counted and claimed in the NSLP. It also includes current 12th graders or seniors who will graduate in May, as long as all of those types of students are enrolled in an NSLP participating school and that they qualify for free or reduced price school meals in the current school year. Again, that includes those pre-K or preschool students who have access to school meals through the NSLP, but it would not include children who have an NDE state ID because they receive services but do not come to school. So we know there are some very young children who would be reported in a school district's advisor information. They have an NDE state ID, but if they're not actually enrolled in a school, physically coming to the school and receiving meals through the National School Lunch Program, they would not be included in your data submission for summer EBT benefits. So free or reduced price meals eligibility applies as a part of the requirement to be issued these benefits. And the top 3 of the 4 qualifiers on this slide apply to what schools need to know. Obviously, you have a population of students who are directly certified or matched for meal benefits because they receive SNAP, TANF, SEPIR, or qualify for free or reduced price meals because of their participation in a couple of the eligible Medicaid program options, as well as students who are identified as foster, migrant, or homeless. There's also probably a small subset of your student population who receives free or reduced price meals because they've had a benefit extended to them because they live with a student directly certified for or matched for SNAP, TANF, SDPIR, or Medicaid free or Medicaid reduced. School meals income eligibility applications that provide information about household size and income that aligns with the income guidelines for the National School Lunch Program's school year 23-24 guidelines also would qualify to receive summer EBT benefits. And the 4th item in this list is the summer EBT application, which is not something that schools need to administer or make determinations on. That is a way to qualify for meal benefits that is the responsibility of the Nebraska Department of Education. And this application will be available after June 1st. We worked hard to make this available as quickly as possible, but with the timeline of adopting or being approved to operate the summer EBT in Nebraska for the summer of 2024, there were just a couple of hurdles to overcome, and one of those was a short timeline. So we're working hard to make that option available for students who are enrolled at community eligibility provision schools and are not directly certified for meal benefits. as well as any kind of student in a household whose income may have changed over the course of the summer period, and they believe they may be newly eligible to receive the SEBT benefits. Again, the summer EBT application is not a function of the program that schools need to be responsible for. I think the most important for you to know if you're asked by families of enrolled students is that that application will be appropriate for students who don't have school year 23-24 free or reduced meal eligibility documented, and or they become newly eligible during the covered summer period. And again, the application will be available after June 1st. Right. A special situation would be students enrolled at community eligibility provision schools. Obviously, those students must have individual student eligibility documentation available. That is their eligibility for free or reduced price meals. And this is different from what it was when we were utilizing and issuing pandemic EBT benefits. At that time, CEP school students were all eligible for PEBT. And so remember, this is different. This is a change. We cannot say an entire group of CEP school students is eligible for summer EBT. We need that individual one-by-one free or reduced meal eligibility determination. So some of those students would be on the direct certification match list, identified as eligible for SNAP, Medicaid-free, Medicaid-reduced TANF, or FDPIR. And those are students who we do not need a CEP school to submit their data for. You can do that if it is easiest for you to aggregate all of that information for all students in your district. And it's difficult to pull out the students who are directly certified. Again, you can give us that information. We just don't need it for those I've identified in green text. The students matched on those programs identified in green don't have to be provided to us. However, you can. We definitely do need you to provide a completed summer EBT template for students who are directly certified as foster, migrant, or homeless. We need to make sure we have correct, most currently available mailing addresses to help ensure those cards are provided to the correct homes or addresses. Some CEP schools have alternative income applications that collect the same information that a free or reduced price meal eligibility application contains. And the free or reduced price meal eligibility application is certainly something that a traditional non-CEP school uses and makes available to households to determine if those students are eligible for meal benefits, because they may not be, not all students are on the direct certification list, of course, not all eligible students are. So some CEP schools, though they cannot use the traditional meal application and shouldn't be distributing those to students because those are meant to identify students eligible for benefits through the meals program, might offer or issue a similar form that identifies the potential benefits or discounts available to students who do meet the same income guidelines that the school nutrition program has. This alternative income application is a valid way to identify students eligible for summer EBT. It needs to gather household size and household income information just like the traditional meals application does. And the eligibility determinations on those forms do need to use the current school year's income guidelines for the school meals program. If you operate a CEP school or several school buildings and you do not offer an alternate income form like the one I described, those students will have the option to complete the summer EBT application beginning June 1st. So I said that on the previous slide as well. We want to make sure you know there is an option available to students enrolled at community eligibility provision schools who are not on the direct certification list. So let's move on a little bit. Now we've sort of identified which kinds of students and how they might qualify for summer EBT because they qualify or identified as eligible for free or reduced price meals. Let's talk about how you're going to provide eligible student information and what to include that we need to receive. You'd begin by reviewing those summer EBT data file requirements, and I've sent a few messages with both the upload file and upload instructions attached. Those resources are available in both the NDE portal where you will upload this information, as well as on the Nutrition Services homepage. We need your help by aggregating data and then populating the SEBT template with the required fields as well as all optional fields you're able to share information for. And then finally, you'll upload the summer EBT template with all of the children or students who qualify for free or reduced price meals into the portal. And the portal did open today, Monday, May 6th. So if you have this sheet nearly ready to go already, you're able to upload it at any time. It is ready to take those submissions. So this table probably looks familiar to most of you if you've read the emails I have sent about the summer EBT program. I have broken each of the rows up into a separate slide because I realized the text is small, first of all, and secondly, we probably need to talk about what each of those rows really means in order to give you the most detailed and helpful information. So students who are directly certified or matched for SNAP, TANF, SDPIR, Medicaid free or Medicaid reduced means that all schools, both traditional, free, reduced, and paid operations, as well as community eligibility provision schools, do not need to take action by uploading information that includes, by including those students' information in your upload. However, if it's easiest for you to aggregate the information for your entire list of free and reduced price eligible students, that is fine. We have internal processes to prevent duplication of students in benefit issuances, so you can feel confident that there is not a student who will be issued a duplicate benefit for summer EBT, now or in the future. So again, you can include these kinds of students based on direct certification for the programs identified on the slide. You don't have to, but there's no harm if you do. Students who are identified and directly certified as matched for foster, homeless, and migrant definitely do need to be included in your summer EBT file template for uploading into the portal. So you want to complete the template to include these students' information. We need to know their most recently known mailing address to help ensure those students' benefit cards reach their households. Students who receive school meals benefits because a SNAP, a Medicaid-free, or a Medicaid-reduced meal eligibility determination has been extended from a student who's matched on one of those programs to another student in the same household need also to be included and submitted to us for issuance of benefits. Obviously, we know who the SNAP, Medicaid-free, and Medicaid-reduced students are because we're the agency that utilizes data tables from DHHS, matches them against advisor student information, and that's what populates your match list. We just don't have awareness of which students live with students matched for SNAP, Medicaid-free, or Medicaid-reduced. And so in those situations of extended benefits or benefits being extended from a matched student to another student in the household who's not on the match list, we definitely need you to include those kinds of students in your summer EBT data. Students who qualify for free or reduced price school meals because they submitted a meal application that was determined eligible for meal benefits based on household size and income, or because that application reported a master case number for SNAP, TANF, or SDPIR, also need to be included in your summer EBT data upload. Again, we don't have information for those students. we wouldn't know where to mail cards, so we need your help in getting that information. And this last scenario applies to community eligibility provision, or CEP schools only. Those students who are identified as eligible for free or reduced price meals based on that alternative application that collects both household size and income information is an acceptable way to identify students eligible to receive summer EBT funds. Students enrolled at CEP schools are not automatically eligible. We definitely need that individual eligibility determination to be made in order for those students to be provided in the summer EBT template, which therefore issues them benefits, of course. And here I've got a screenshot of what the template looks like. I want to draw your attention to the definitions tab, which gives just some helpful information about what kind of information will be required, as well as what is optional for each student entry row in the SEBT template tab that you can also see in the screenshot here. There are two optional pieces of information that we do wish you to provide if possible. I think the most important of those is the parent's email address. We are required to issue benefit approval or notification in written form to all students or households of students who will receive summer EBT. And to streamline this process and to support timely issuance of those notices, we would like to be able to offer or issue those electronically utilizing email addresses that are provided from schools. And with about 150,000 students eligible for summer EBT, the electronic notification is going to be best for issuing these notices electronically and quickly before they receive their benefit cards in the mail. Of course, we want to give them a heads up that this is coming to them. We don't want them to mistake an unfamiliar envelope for something that doesn't apply to them. One of the potential outcomes of not issuing that notice letter as early as we can is that we run the risk of them accidentally throwing the card away and then calling the school or calling us or DHHS asking when they're going to get their card. So just to make the best of the program, the best use of time and funds and your school staff time too, we want to make sure we can issue those and give people a heads up about this benefit card coming to them. So email addresses will help us do that job well. The former PEBT application in the NDE portal has been renamed to be called the SEBT file upload. As you noted from a couple of slides ago, this will open, or actually did open today on Monday, May 6th. And please note how important it is for a successful upload, for successful issuance of cards in a timely manner, that the first submission deadline will be May 17th. So if you're able to get your data aggregated and populated in the summer EBT template and uploaded in the system by May 17th, that's going to help us make sure we are able to issue benefit cards to households in June. There are other opportunities to upload data, of course, throughout the summer, but I think we're all going to receive fewer questions, maybe that linger into the summer if we're able to issue those benefits as soon as possible. If you have a PEBT file upload that happens to accidentally get used for summer EBT data upload, that is okay. That file contains 2 additional columns that we advise you to leave blank because we will remove those from the data we compile and share with DHHS. Again, the data in the final 2 columns of a pandemic EBT file will be removed, deleted, or ignored. We're really just keeping that original file format or template and paring down and eliminating what we don't need to have for the purpose of summer EBT. Upload instructions and the template are available in the app, our application in the portal. And I wanted to put in big red letters here how important it is to upload a file that's saved in the most recent or most current version of Excel, the XLSX file format. Let's move on to a few resources and some frequently asked questions to schools before we get to the questions you have asked in the chat. And you'll have an opportunity to unmute and ask your questions as well. But this is the most current version and what I think will end up being the final version of the data submission deadlines or windows and how those correspond to the card issuance dates for summer EBT, as well as the corresponding expungement dates for the benefits. Cards, after cards are issued and the benefits are activated, users have 122 days to use the cards according to the statute. So the first data submission deadline is not applicable. It applies only to those, the first data card issuance applies only to directly certified students who are receiving meal benefits because of SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, or Medicaid reduced. And those cards will be issued beginning on May 28th. And because it's such a large card issuance, the card vendor anticipated that those would be sort of released on a rolling schedule through June 10th. So for those directly certified for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, and Medicaid reduced, the cards will begin to be issued at the end of May, rolling out the door through the Postal Service through June 10th. So most people should have their cards between June 10th and probably about June 15th to June 18th. And the last date that they would have to spend the $120 value on the cards is June 30th. That's 122 days after May 31st. So you don't need to submit any data for that first issuance of those directly certified students. However, anytime you submit data now through May 17th for students who had benefits extended to them because they live with a student matched for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, or Medicaid, students who are directly certified and identified as foster, homeless, or migrant, students who submitted a meal application that where the determination was made that they're eligible for free or reduced price meals, and any CEP school students who did complete, if available, an alternative meal application. That data submitted between now and May 17th, that card issuance will be completed on June 20th, and they should have the card sometime probably between June 23rd and the end of June. That issuance is going to be much smaller than our initial issuance. Therefore, we don't need such a long timeline of rolling dates to get those cards out the door. The expungement date for those cards issued in June is going to be October 20th. For schools that submit data after May 17th and up until or through June 13th, cards will be issued on July 19th with an expungement date of November 18th. Schools that provide the NDE with a completed summer EBT template between June 14th and July 14th will go out on August 20th, expungement date being December 20th. And then any students who you submit data for between July 15th and September 3rd will be issued on September 10th with a probable expungement date of January 10th if those dates don't change. So this, I think, really helps highlight and underscore how important it is to try to aggregate and submit your data as soon as possible. Obviously, the intention of this program is to help provide or help support food security while school's not in session. And the earlier you provide this, the NDE with data for eligible students, the more timely the issuance of benefits and mailing of the cards can take place for those affected children and households. Should educational service units submit student data? And 9.9 times out of 10, this answer is going to be no. Students who attend ESUs are also enrolled at their home, quote unquote, school district. And we would instruct those home districts to provide information about those students. The district is where the determination for free or reduced price meal benefits is made anyway. They have all the necessary information, but of course we encourage you to touch base if you're an ESU or a school that has students go to an ESU. Please communicate with each other to make sure you know who is doing what. And again, we anticipate it's going to be the responsibility of the home school at which the student is enrolled to submit information for the students who are eligible for free or reduced price meals. What about temporary alternative schools, and should they submit student data for eligible students? Again, the answer is very similar to the one I gave for educational service units. In this case, no. We urge the home school district, they'll be instructed to provide the information for eligible students, so the temporary alternative schools would not need to do that. Of course, we support or advise communicating between the two to make sure everyone is on the same page, but it is and we encourage the home school to be the one to submit the information for the eligible students. I'm sorry. If you receive questions about card issuance, some basics that might be helpful to you are that the entire benefit amount is going to be issued at one time. It will not be a rolling addition like electronically to a card. The entire $120 for the duration of the covered summer period is going to be available on the card and usable from the day the recipient receives the card. Households can opt out of their SEBT issuance if they'd like to, and I have a link to the DHHS SEBT website I will put into the chat shortly as well. Those automatically issued for directly certified match students or other free or reduced eligible students, automatically issued, those cards will be automatically issued for the match students for SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, or FDPIR. But the other students identified as eligible for free or reduced price meals will need to have that data submitted to the NDE by the district. And we covered that in depth in previous slides. And if it's easiest for your school to not have to pull out the directly certified students to aggregate all of the free or reduced student information together, please feel free to include everyone, even if they're directly certified. We can pull those out and duplicate the data. If you're looking for summer EBT support, of course, school staff, we want you to email data submission questions, any upload issues or other kinds of questions you have to nde.sebt@nebraska.gov. We've got a small team of people who can help respond to questions, and that's probably the way you're going to get the fastest answer. For households that have questions or concerns or inquiries, we of course encourage them to reach out to DHHS using the telephone number and or the email address you see on the screen here. The more details, the better when it comes to getting answers to questions or responses to concerns. And the information you see on this slide will all be issued in a frequently asked questions and help document that we will finalize along with the questions you asked today, and we'll publish on the website and send out via email communication as well. So the things we wish to provide to you are helpful resources and contact information, as well as sort of like template messages and blurbs that we think would be helpful if you include in using your regular communication with households of your enrolled students. So you can expect to receive information like that we hope will be helpful to you communicating about summer EBT to families in your school. So now's the time for us to go through the questions in the chat, give you a chance to type those in if you haven't already, and also want you to know that you can feel free to unmute and ask your question if you'd prefer to do it that way. I'm going to open the chat here. It looks like so far we have a good number of questions. Emily asked where you would get an alternative income form. And Emily, that's not something NDE has made widely available for community eligibility provision schools. Some schools have chosen to develop a version of their own, especially for maybe middle and upper grade students where a benefit or discount of some type is usually determined based on free and reduced meal eligibility. I can't remember which school you're with, so if you can let me know, then I can tell you if the alternative income form applies to your school. But at a basic level, it's something that community eligibility provision schools can use.
We are a CEP school. I'm from Isanti.
Oh, sure. Okay. I saw someone from your school when I was at the data conference sharing information about CEP and summer EBT. And I heard then that your school doesn't utilize one of those, and that's okay. You're not expected to do that right now just for the purpose of summer EBT. So
Okay,
households that you think, who might ask, oh, I'm not on the match list. I don't think I've participated in SNAP or Medicaid. You can let them know that, and you'll receive this from the frequently asked questions and resources I send out tomorrow, but let them know that they can utilize the summer EBT application that will be available after June 1st, and that's going to be on the Nutrition Services website. So there is a bit of a wait time for them to complete that, but just let them know after June 1st it will be available here, and we'll give you the web address for that in the resources. I have a question here about some students that previously qualified for free meals because they were identified as migrant students, and this was at the beginning of the school year. And then at some point over the course of the school year, maybe they didn't appear on that migrant list anymore. And the question is, if they're eligible for meal benefits at one time in the school year, but may drop off a list at a later point in the year, are they eligible for the meal benefits for the duration of the school year as well as for summer EBT benefits? And the answer to that is yes. You've got a student maybe on a migrant list or who is identified as foster or something like that up until, let's pretend it was January 10th of 2024. Because that student was identified as eligible for meal benefits, they retain those benefits for the rest of the year, even if they fall off of one of those eligibility lists. And they should also be included in your summer EBT data and would be eligible to receive the benefits from SEBT. If you have a student who has only one guardian listed, then yes, that's the person you would identify as the parent in the SEBT file that you provide to us, issuing benefits. For programs that are level 3, where students are enrolled at a home district, you would not need to provide information for those students. We'll instruct those home districts to provide information for all the students enrolled in their school. If there happens to be duplicate entries or uploads of the same student from different entities, we, like I said, have ways, Max and his team, rather, not me, Max and his team will make sure that the duplicate entries are removed to ensure program integrity, of course, and issuance only of the allotted benefit for any one student. Yeah, and Casey from Omaha, you wanted to verify that any student enrolled for any period of time across the school year is eligible unless you know they've moved out of state or out of the country. And yes, that is correct. That is the way the statute is written, where the guidance is written. Technically, you would include any student enrolled in your school at any time in school year 23-24 who was also eligible for free or reduced price meals. That is correct. It's possible they transferred to another school. If you don't know that, though, we want to encourage you to include them in your data submission and then rely on us to make sure we have removed any duplicates. And you assume students who may have passed away during the school year should not be submitted. I think that's a question I want to make sure I have a solid answer to. I don't recall coming across that in any of the questions and answers issued by the USDA, excuse me. I'd love to ask on that one. I'll include it in the frequently asked questions along with its answer after I receive confirmation from the regional office.
Okay,
That's
I
a good
asked
question.
because
Thank you.
we distinctly found students who didn't have contact information, and I believe we have it set up so that there is not contact information, so something doesn't accidentally go out to families.
Of
So,
course,
yeah,
understand. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I understand why on many levels, especially that one. So I'll confirm and we'll put that in writing. And try to remember to email you directly as well, since you are the asker of the question. Can we define students who are enrolled? The ESU 3 has students that are referred to the ESU from various school districts. Is the original school district the enrolled district, or is the referred school the enrolled one? Yeah, I'd say the original district is the one that's going to include free or reduced price eligible students in their summer EBT data. So if you're an ESU that has students from several districts, all enrolled at those home or original districts, you would not be responsible for providing summer EBT data. But as I said early on, just confirm this and make sure everyone is on the same page, everyone being the ESU and the original or home districts at which the students your ESU serves are enrolled. I don't want there to be a miscommunication between the two entities that would result in an eligible student not receiving information. We try to communicate these things as best we can, but any additional opportunity there is to discuss that and have a plan, I think is a good opportunity to take advantage of. And we appreciate your support by doing that communication and collaboration. And your ESU sometimes or most cases are not aware of the primary language spoken. And Max, that's an optional field. I didn't mention that when we were looking at the template. I apologize for that. If you know
correct.
it, we'd like you to include it. Go ahead. I talked over you, Max. He agreed with me, I think, so. Samantha, I think mentioned in a roundabout way that their school does the summer food service program where you offer breakfast and lunch in June and July. And you're wondering if you still need to submit data for eligible students. And the answer to that is yes. Even if your school operates the summer food service program, you need to submit data for your free or reduced eligible students based on their qualification for school year 23-24.
Okay.
And it's $120 per eligible child, not per family. And I think you unmuted, Samantha. Did I
Yes.
answer your question?
Yes. So it is per child. So
Yes.
so even if they graduated and they're not coming back, you would put them
Yep,
back
they were.
in court
Mhm.
so that family gets credit.
Correct. They were
Okay.
enrolled in school year 23-24 and eligible for free or reduced price meals, even if they're a graduating senior. You would
Okay.
include them. Mhm.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Mhm. Lynn, you asked a great question. I don't think I said it. The first batch of issuances that starts in May is for the students who are directly certified or matched for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, and Medicaid reduced. And the reason we don't have to receive that information for those students from you is because DHHS, it being a means tested, those being means tested programs that DHHS is the agency for, they have information about those households, including where to issue the benefit cards. I think that answers your question. Yeah.
Yes, it
But that's
does.
how we would, good. Thank you, Lynn. And Max, I saw you answered in writing too. Sorry about that. And Mr. Freitag and others here representing ESUs, you don't need to upload the file for your ESU indicating you don't have anyone. We'll make note of that and try to remember to not include you in our frequent reminder emails about ESUs or schools that haven't submitted information. So we'll make note of the ESUs, and you don't need to take any action. Casey asked, when is the last enrollment date that you can use? Your schools are in session until 5/22, so should we create another submission for any missed students after 5/16? And Max, I'd be interested in your take on this. I think you can aggregate and submit whatever you've got up until 5/16 if that date works for you, and a second batch potentially much smaller, obviously much smaller later is fine. You agree,
Yeah.
Max?
Yeah, I mean, I think the rule technically would be for enrollments up through the end of June technically qualify. But yeah, that's since there are multiple due dates, you can always submit additional files on the later due dates.
So even through summer school as well, because we will have students that come to us that are brand new, usually to the state, to the country sometimes, that we do try to get into like our EL summer school.
You ask the good questions, Casey.
And you're qualifying them for a food program?
I mean, so we have the alternate income forms. My guess is they, I don't know if they will have submitted it via their online enrollment. I mean, I know we've got students enrolling every day. We'll have students probably enroll on the last day of school, likely, that will be, put in for one day. Summer, I'm not really sure about, but I know we try to get every newcomer, especially EL, into school as soon as possible. I can look for them in summer. I mean, I think some of them could be directly certified. Some of them, could be migrant. We might not have all of that paperwork done via the summer, so it might be tough to categorize those students, but I know we will get new students over the summer that we try to get enrolled in school.
I'm hesitant to give, I don't disagree with your answer, Max. They're not going to submit a traditional meal application anyway, and because you don't need to at OPS, but do you think, you don't know the answer on whether they would complete the alternative income apps that you offer?
I mean, it's very possible that through our kind of online enrollment, they would.
Yeah.
I think that still processes overnight from that information into kind of nutrition services area and then into our information system. It can be something that I go look for, but certainly they could qualify. Migrant, I think explicitly would be a group that we might get.
Hey, Katie.
Just like,
This is Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we shut down that application process at the end of the school year. So we don't take applications once the school year ends on that last day.
And I can see why, because if they got meals, it would be through the summer food service program, not through NSLP anyway.
Correct.
And no real, and no real like typical kind of benefit that you would normally use the alternative income application for anyway. And with only a month left in that program year and the income levels, I can see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, because we try to follow the same process for the EBF forms as we do the school meal applications.
Yeah, agree with you. That's a good practice. I just feel like I need to ask about these summer school students and get some clarification on that. And I guess I feel like they probably would need to end up completing an SEBT application in probably some cases. I just don't know how quickly they would appear on a match list because I don't know, if our EL students are migrant. I can understand sometimes there's a slight delay in those students populating a match list.
Yeah, I would agree.
Unknowns in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask about what.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Thank you. understanding and for your patience. But to really answer your question, the 2 submissions is fine. The bigger one on or before May 17th, and then any others you get enrolled maybe between the 16th and like the 22nd would be a different, smaller submission, and that's fine.
And we would prefer
Sure.
that to get as many as many out as soon as possible, as opposed to kind of waiting for the next submission just to kind of do it all in one. Okay.
Well, I think it doesn't make a lot of difference to me. I guess I base my nodding on just feedback I've heard from schools about maybe inquiries from families, because I know
Yeah.
during pandemic EBT, that was a big load for schools to carry. So kind of, you know,
Agreed.
reduce that if it's possible. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And Sarah, you asked if you should include preschool age children who are in your NSLP along with your traditional K through 12 students. And the answer to that one is yes. Those pre-K students are enrolled in your school. They have access to breakfast and or lunch during their preschool school day. So yeah, they would be eligible for summer EBT if you have documentation that they also qualify for free or reduced price meals. Chris in Grand Island, you asked who is responsible for processing an income, maybe an alternate income form? I think that's maybe what your message
Yes.
was referring to. Yeah.
Hi, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm typing with one hand and I
Oh,
keep hitting the wrong
all
thing,
good.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm understanding that that would be an online form.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
I think yeah, your school isn't already doing those in your CEP building, so you really don't need to worry about that. It's just, I think, the SEBT application, which is NDE's responsibility and would be available
Okay.
after June 1st.
Yes, I guess that's what I meant was the SEBT
Yeah.
application. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
so
that's our school's
okay.
role.
I'll wait for more information on that. Thanks, Katie.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry it's not ready and up and going right now, but yeah, in the next month or less than the next month, hopefully it will be. I know you'll end up answering lots of questions about where to find it and why can't I find it and stuff like that. So in the meantime, I apologize for that. Denise asked a good question. I think you can help answer Max at 242. Where on the portal is that template uploaded and under what section?
Yep. It's taking the place of the PBT file upload app. So when you log into the NDE portal, you go to data collections and look for the link called SEBT file upload. And if you don't have access to it, your district administrator can give you the activation code.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Max. I did go under there, and this is the first year that we've had to submit any kind of information to the Nebraska Department of Ed on nutrition. And I do not have the SEBT file available to put that activation code in. And so do I need to request that file, or I didn't see it listed underneath the ones that I can add on underneath the that console, that data file under the consolidation data file. It's not there.
It's not in the consolidated data collection. That's a separate link. Within the portal, SEBT file upload has its own link and its own activation code.
Okay.
Are you do you have access to activation codes for your district, or?
Yes. Yes.
Right. As far as I know, you should be able to see that as a code you can issue, or you have access to. Typically, you would give it out to others. When you click on the district administration, district admin, I think, tab in the portal,
Yes,
don't
I-
have
I
access
can-
to that then, but
You're right. I can get the code. I just don't have, I can't find the SEBT where to add that to it.
yeah.
So when
So you would
Okay.
then click on the data collections tab,
Uh-huh,
and if you scroll down to the bottom, you should see SEBT file upload listed as one of the apps that's not currently, you don't currently have an activation code for. And I think you just hit the add link to it to put in that activation code.
right. But I don't see that available for me to add it. Is what I'm
Uh,
saying.
I would say just send an email to our help link, either that nde.sebt one,
Yep. Okay, I can do
or
that.
our service desk will find out.
Okay. Yep, I can do that. I've got the activation code. I just don't have the place to add it on. So I'll send it to that help link.
Thanks for asking, Denise.
Yep,
and
thank you.
Max, for your help. Appreciate it. Grace asked, can your tech department just send everything together rather than separating the matches, the kids who are matched for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, and Medicaid? And yes, totally. I get that that's easiest, is to not have to separate certain kinds of eligible students in order to avoid submitting them because we already have the info. I get that can be a major pain. We don't expect you to do that. You could have if it made your life easier, but if it doesn't, include everyone, no matter how they qualify. We are good with that. Thank you for asking that. I'm sure you're not the only one who was wondering. Billy's asked a good question. I don't know if I answered this one, right? If students are marked migrant but appeared on the direct cert list, you need to submit their information. And the answer to that is yes. For migrant, homeless, and foster students, we need to make sure we have the most currently known mailing address for those students, and schools are probably the holders of that information. So for those, even though they are on the match list, we do need you to provide their information in the summer EBT upload. Thank you for asking. And Dana and Holdridge, you asked about your preschool students. You don't serve them meals, even though they're enrolled and maybe they qualify. If they're not really participants in the NSLP, as in they don't have access to meals through that program, you would not include them in your summer EBT upload. Technically, they're not like missing out on something they would normally get during the school year when school is out. Similar situation for some schools that operate the child and adult care food program to serve meals to maybe some preschool students. Again, if it's CACFP that you're using to count and claim and receive reimbursement for the meals served to preschoolers, and you're not utilizing the NSLP for those preschoolers' meals, you wouldn't need to include them in your summer EBT data. Good question. Oh, Chris, you're restating your question, and maybe I'm a little behind on the chat, I think, but who processes the summer EBT app? And maybe this is your follow-up. I'm just finally making my way down the chat list of questions, and it's the NDE. Yep.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all good. Thanks, Chris. And Sarah responded to your question, and Max wrote it as well. So yeah, preschoolers who receive meals through NSLP should be included. I answered your question, Billy, I think. Sorry, I know that I'm so slow and I get out of order often. Did I miss any, Max?
I'm just on Christie's question, just to be clear that the CEP alternative income form is something different than the SEBT application.
It is. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Any other questions?
I was just gonna follow up on a couple statements. So there was,
Mhm.
there was one discussion about level 3 schools not submitting their students, right? That the home district would be doing that. And so, and then there's conversation about the PK students that are maybe not in a situation where they're getting that National School Lunch Program. I guess I don't know for sure. Are some of our level 3 locations, some of our interim contract settings, like a DCYC, like, are they getting the school lunch? And we would submit them? Or are they
They're
like
enrolled, yeah.
PK student and they,
Is like a level 3 school of temporary alternative school that
yes.
a student wouldn't probably go to for an entire school year?
Well, in some cases, they're contracted, like we're contracting with a service provider who's providing a higher level of service maybe than the district can provide. So they would be enrolled there. We end up reporting them as our student, but in
Yeah.
our system, we call them interim or contracted. Those would be contracted. Interim students would be like a student that is at DCYC or a correctional type facility, where that is an interim setting generally, but it can last a fair amount of time. We're not directly serving them lunch in
Right.
those cases, but there are students, like we represent them as 100% FTE generally.
Mm-hmm. And Tammy, for the ones you described that are like a contracted student or school situation where they probably are there for the whole year or most of the year, they're not getting meals that you know of through NSLP anyway,
No,
or do you know?
not through us, they
Okay.
are not.
Yeah. Hmm.
I know every once in a while we'll receive a request from someone wanting a copy of, a direct certification letter. I'm not sure for what purpose though,
Oh, yeah.
but we
Could be
don't
a number
provide,
of-
we don't provide any meal service to any of those locations.
Okay.
Tammy, do we
Good to
provide
know.
it at our Educare sites? I'm sorry, I probably know this answer, but
No, we don't provide the meals at the Educare sites, only for the OPS students that are enrolled in our schools who are attending in that site. Otherwise, Educare operates their own program.
I apologize. I was thinking in my head level 3 schools were more temporary situations for students, but that might not be the case based on what you said. So that's one I need to not answer today because I don't want to give the wrong information. I will seek guidance from the national office on that one. Technically, they're enrolled at your school, but you contract with their alternative school,
right.
I'll call it, and they for a higher level of services than your buildings would provide to them. And if those locations don't necessarily provide meals through NSLP, we need to know if you should include those students in your eligible SEBT student list, right?
Right,
Is that the
yeah.
question? Okay.
It's like Girls in Boys
Making
Town
sure.
National Research Hospital, that might be a short-term thing,
Okay.
but it could last, a number of years. There's a number of different
Okay.
examples of those types of
Yeah.
programs where when we end up sending you the student, we send it to NDE and into advisor. I think we get,
Mhm.
you guys get that alternative center, but then those students are applied back to our regular schools as well, right?
I need Max to respond to that one. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those entities like Boys Town do not submit any data to us on the students. So ultimately, yeah, if they qualify, the data would have to come from you.
Thanks for asking that one. We'll get an answer to that so you know if they should be included or not. Yeah.
But in
Do you have
general,
another follow-up?
well, in
Sorry.
general, it's just if we do not serve lunch to the location that the student attends every day,
Yeah.
then we would not want to submit them. Perhaps with a caveat on some of these interim contracted settings.
Yeah. I'm more yaying like I hear your question. And I'm just
Okay.
kind of not necessarily like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Or I've told you right. I don't have that much confidence in it. I'm yaying like I hear you. I will investigate those. And thanks for bringing them up.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
I
good
think I did
questions.
ask you about these. I don't know if we ever, I think you had some like, are they your students? And we just, I think OPS has probably like a much larger proportion. And so it's a more common scenario for our population. And so it's not like one student or two students that, you know, oh, we know what's going on with this kiddo. Like when I'm pulling the data, there's hundreds that fall into these categories. And, you know, we have lots of different locations of different partnerships where there are schools kind of, but we are, you know, more like an educare where we're the overseer, but we don't run the facilities. So it gets complicated, I guess.
Yeah, agree with you. Yeah, it's very nuanced when we get into those kinds of situations or scenarios. Well, I will find the answer so that you know who to include and potentially who not to include based on those factors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Asking. I think we've finished the ones in the chat. If I overlooked your question from the chat box, either please unmute and ask or put it in the chat box one more time so I don't accidentally overlook it. Or if you've thought of a new one you want to bring up. While you do a little thinking, I'll just remind you that we will publish the recording of each of the trainings. We offered one last week and then obviously today. I was hoping I would be better like on today and say fewer but I don't think that happened. And publish both of those so you could rewatch one of them, both of them, share with other people at your school who were not able to join either of the two options. And like I've said before, too, we will compile all of the questions from last week and this week and the common ones we've received by email already to put them in a single document that will also hold or provide some example or template messages about summer EBT that we think would be helpful for you to share using your normal communication channels and networks with households of your enrolled students. We appreciate your support, of course, and understand that we're asking more of you to help us comply with this requirement to issue benefits. And so I've got a lot of gratitude for those of you involved in this and getting involved in conversations and making the time to get this work done, and we appreciate that. We don't want it to be, it's my goal that we try to minimize the burden on you as much as we can, but I need to be realistic and recognize that the first year of something new is going to have some growing pains, of course. So always appreciate your questions, your inquiries. They help make us better. I appreciate the patience and grace you offer to me and others in the group when it's necessary. And just wanted to say thank you and remind you that anytime you have questions, please feel free to contact me. I'll do my best to find answers to those things to help you get this done and move on to the next thing that your job needs you to do. I think we're finished with questions today. You can look for an email from me and follow up to the training tomorrow. And then please, like I said, feel free to ask questions anytime they come up. Thank you very much for your time today.